He could.
This is the Tom and Jerry Sports Show
on All Noise Radio.
I'm Jerry.
Go.
And I'm Tom.
Oh. What? Shoots, he scores! What a play by Tavares! Wait.
All Noise Radio. The noise. The noise you can't ignore.
Hey, good evening. Tom and Jerry Sports Show. We got a great one for you today. MLB trade deadline talk. Will the Blue Jays' moves be enough to overtake the Yankees in the East? Do the Mets have enough to keep up this hot streak and stay atop the NL East? Then we got NFL training camp news, as well as everyone's favorite fantasy football talk.
Oh, yeah, you got the Fantasy Football 14, baby. 14-minute straight fantasy football talk. But first, the trade deadline just passing of the Major League Baseball. A lot of big moves made.
Yeah, the 31st, July 31st, was last Friday, 4 o'clock, MLB trade deadline.
A lot of moves. A lot more moves than I feel like as years are going, you got more and more moves going.
Yeah, this year was really interesting in how everything has gone down.
A lot of closers moved. A lot of closers in particular. I mean, you got a lot of guys closing teams down, and I mean, a lot of back end help to the rotation, and I mean, basically, a lot more moves than you expected before. Yeah,
we were talking off the air, and you said you pretty much had a sleeper kind of deal during all these crazy amount of deals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who was your sleeper?
I'll be honest, it's the Pittsburgh Pirates getting Joakim Soria. I mean, this is a story that everyone heard of. I mean, this is a great back end to the their bullpen. Yeah. I mean, you already got they have a dominant closer already to begin with, and bring this guy as your eighth inning guy. Not to mention that starting pitching we talked about in previous shows. I mean, this team's got the pitching to make some moves in the National League. Yeah, the Pirates acquired him for former third-round pick Jacoby Jones. So,
I mean, if you really think about it, do you know Jacoby Jones?
I do not. But I mean, listen, these are young.
But this is a good deal, though.
Yeah, when you got a lot of trades like this going on in Major League Baseball, I mean, you see a lot of names coming and going, that you're not too familiar with. I mean, we're talking about young names that have been, going around the minors.
Most of it is like that,
Yeah, of course. But then give it some years and you'll hear about some of these guys. But right now, the Pittsburgh Pirates are, they're basically... They're a team that's ready to win now. I mean, you got a star in Andrew McCutchen. You got guys like Starling Marte. I mean, even guys like Francisco Cervelli. I mean, they got a great lineup. Absolutely. I mean, it's getting better. I mean, when we first talked about this, it's young.
Very young.
Exactly. And to have the pitching, the pitching that they have right now, you got guys like A.J. Burnett. You're not going to see guys like this, for much longer. I mean, the guy's been in the league for a long time now, and they're ready to win now. They have 3 starters in Liriano, A.J. Burnett, and Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole being the youngest out of the 3, being the ace, which will be good down the road. But you got guys that are ready to win now. Liriano, Burnett, these guys don't have much time left.
There is a little injury problem with A.J. Burnett.
Yes, that just recently got reported. But they said, it was, career threatening. So now basically for him to, the latest talk is that he's going to be coming back.
Absolutely.
By the end of the month, they even said 3 to 4 weeks. And that's someone they're going to really need, especially come September, because they're going to have to continue to win. I mean, right now, their division's very, very difficult. You got guys really catching up. Teams are catching up left and right on them. The National League is being very hard to win. Even these wild cards are coming down. I mean, you got the Nationals holding one of the wild card right now, right?
Yeah. Soria's numbers with Detroit before moving over to Pittsburgh. 3-1, 2.85 ERA.
Mm-hmm.
He was having a decent year. He had 23 saves.
This is a great player. A great pickup for them. I mean,
especially that the Tigers are still under 500 for a team that started 11-3, 11-2.
I mean, and they were really good last year too.
They have a great team. If you look at that lineup, I mean, let's be serious.
Yeah,
that's a great team.
I know. They're a team that's really built really well.
Everybody thought that this team was going to be a top-notch team in the AL.
Well, you know what it is? All those trades with the New York Yankees. I mean, they're going to come back to haunt you. Yankees traded already a lot of prospects over to them. Yep. I mean, Cervelli even being one of them as well. I mean, these guys are prospects for a reason. They're not ready yet, but, every player takes their time. It takes time in Major League Baseball. This isn't like any of the other sports. Like we talked about, half these guys that got traded, we're like, who are these guys? Who are, it's irrelevant. You don't know them now, but give it 3 years, and you'll get a good idea.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody in the world will get a good idea.
But the Yankees really didn't make any deals because of their top prospects.
Oh yeah, of course they got a lot of good prospects. 4 guys in particular that they didn't want to get rid of any of them, and all these teams were asking for them.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. But first, I mean,
The Blue Jays, man.
The Blue Jays, I mean, what can you say? Like this, people are talking about having the Blue Jays having the best trade deadline
in a long time.
MLB history.
They had a really good lineup. Really good lineup. Was the pitching the best you'd ever seen? No, we had talked about this before. Their pitching was very, very struggle. They have they're in a ballpark too that's really not too pitcher friendly either. So you really can't misjudge the way the pitching performance has been out for this team. But getting someone like David Price that's a rare talent. Okay, not a lot of people like David Price get nabbed at the trade deadline. They really don't. I mean, we're talking about a 2012 AL Cy Young Award winner. I mean, they had to give up some prospects. Of course, especially like lefties too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, the Blue Jays have started 10 different pitchers this year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Only 2 have pitched with double-digit strikeouts.
Yeah.
David Price had his first game, had 11 strikeouts.
Yeah, they said that tied the franchise record for most strikeouts ever by a pitcher in his first start with the team, which is pretty incredible. But again, it doesn't even end there. That's what really scares you the most. I mean, you got
because right there. I mean, for any other team, that's a great trade deadline to pull up David Price. I mean,
that's not even half of it.
They traded Bud Norris, and their number one. He was their number one prospect.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they had a lot of good southpaws. A lot of good lefties. Lefties are very rare in the Major League Baseball. Like we talked about, when you're a lefty in the minor leagues of Major League Baseball, you don't need to be throwing 99 like every right-handed pitcher has to do. Let's be honest.
They got 3. The Tigers got 3 lefties in this deal, like I said, including Bud Norris, who was their number one prospect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Tigers, to get these kind of guys is big.
Yeah.
For the Blue Jays' sake, they're trying to win now.
Of course.
They're trying to win now. So grabbing David Price.
I mean, how long are you going to be able to hold on to contracts with Edwin Encarnacion, Jose Bautista, Josh Donaldson? These are 3 guys that are going to be capable of hitting 25-plus home runs this year, especially playing in that ballpark. But you're not going to be able to sign all 3 of them. Okay, the time to win is now. All right, and it doesn't even end there. Now you go on to their shortstop, an all-star shortstop that they went out and picked up, and this was one of the best trades you'll see.
This deal went down before the trade deadline.
Yep,
days before the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm. This was a pretty big. This is a pretty big shock.
This guy has been in trade talks for the last 2-3 years. I mean, there was times where the one time that he was sitting at a Yankee game when he was on the DL for the Rockies, and and the Rockies had a game that night too, and he's sitting at a Yankee game. Everybody was like, "Oh, maybe he's the next Derek Jeter."
Well, let's be honest with you.
Wears the same number.
How much more does he have left of this contract that he's on right now?
Oh, I know.
So, I mean, it makes you wonder where he's going to go after. I mean, a lot of people are saying the New York Yankees, but I mean, the way Didi Gregorius has been playing for the New York Yankees, I mean, you don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of time left of the season. Hey, Didi Gregorius, it's a grand slam in Game 7 of the World Series. Is Troy Tulowitzki going to be a New York Yankee?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot more time to
I spoke about this last week on the show. Spoke about this deal. I didn't know that it was going to be like this, really. I mean, his first game, a 2-run home run, 3-run home run.
That's a great ballpark to be at for him.
It is.
It's similar to Colorado. These are hitter-friendly.
The thing that I worry about is the turf and his injury problems. He's injury-prone.
Oh, yeah. That makes up a really... Well, that's why they're only getting him for the rest of the year. You know what I mean?
It was basically the same thing that I said when the Blue Jays made all these deals with the Marlins, ended up getting Jose Reyes as well.
Mm-hmm.
I said Jose Reyes is injury-prone. The turf is not going to be good. Within 2 weeks, he had an injury. Yep. Within 2 weeks. So do I think Jose Reyes going to Colorado? I think for him, it's new scenery. I think it'll be good for him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he might have even was going to be going in a trade, after.
I don't know if Colorado's the best. I don't know if Colorado's the best place for Jose Reyes, but hey, this is why Toronto made a great trade.
I mean, the thing with Colorado is they need pitching,
and they got desperate.
and that's what I thought that they were going to do, was use Jose Reyes as trade bait as they brought him in, trade him back out for a pitcher. They needed it.
Well, Colorado needed to get rid of him last year. That's what the problem was. I mean, you got a guy with half a year left on his contract. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of value for him. So were you forced to go ahead and take someone like Jose Reyes? Yeah, but they did grab some nice prospects in Jeff Hoffman and Miguel Castro. Yeah. And was it Jesus Tinoco? Yeah. Something like that. But, this is the top half of the prospects for for the Toronto Blue Jays, and they go ahead and send right over to Colorado. Colorado's, they're in rebuild mode. They had no pitching this year.
But this is what we're talking about. Toronto's trying to win now.
Exactly.
They have the lineup. They needed the pitching. Now adding Troy Tulowitzki to already a top lineup in the league. I mean, they're
and they added Ben Revere too. They added Ben Revere too now.
They're blowing away the league in runs scored.
This was
blowing away the league.
This was a really good trade deadline for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays are really trying to win right now. If they don't win this season, or even the next year, it's a big disappointment because you're giving up, your whole future. And as a baseball team and a baseball GM, you really have to be patient. But at the same time, you got to know when it's time. Yeah. And you could tell the Blue Jays, their fan base is super excited. I mean, you heard David Price the other day talk about how it's the loudest, he ever expected to hear there. Yeah. So, but as we continue, we move on to the National League. The New York Mets making a couple moves themselves. Yeah. It's not Carlos Gomez, but it's Yoenis Cespedes. I mean, that whole situation was unbelievable. I mean, it just shows what kind of social media will do.
It is. I mean, but to be honest with you, this is what you got to deal with. I mean, these are the times that we have to deal with. Yep. Social media is everywhere. You have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have Twitter. Yep. Twitter is the worst with sports, at least. Sports, I mean,
this was rare though, because I mean, one site that I've always seen that's always been like legit, not too overwhelming, is RotoWorld, and they got caught more than anyone. Yeah, and so it made you really believe that they didn't want to miss out on a story like that.
But to be honest with you, I mean, every report that was coming out was that it was a done deal. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a done deal. And then I turned on the Mets game, and he's still in the game. Yep. So this is where I was like, all right, whenever this happens, whenever a trade goes down mid-game, you automatically pull him. Automatically, no matter what. Doesn't matter how the game's going, you automatically, just for the trade's sake. I mean, whatever you're getting, no, you have to make sure that you're still able to get that without this guy getting hurt. Yep. Because you're trading him away. So, I mean, it was just overall, it was just a messed up situation. I mean, I felt bad for the kid. I mean, usually I won't feel.
He was a hero 2 nights later. So I mean,
I know, and usually I don't feel bad for these guys. I mean, you make so much money, but with Wilmer Flores, it was just the guy came up was drafted by the Mets. I mean, at 16 years old, he's like, all he's known is New York Mets. Yeah. And for him to have this, go down the way
finally
it is,
just got called up this year full time. So it's you want to really make a big impact, and for them to already want to trade you.
I understand the tears,
but
that's what I'm saying.
I understand, but at the same time, the only reason you got traded, big guy, was because you had some talent. I mean, and to go on a trade to go for Carlos Gomez, an all-star center fielder, but let's be honest, the Mets got their own all-star center fielder, Yoenis Cespedes. I can't wait. But
more Mets and Yankees after the break. Will the Mets and Yankees keep this up and stay in first? We'll let you know next on the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Keep it locked.
Our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Remember, It's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
I am phenomenal.
Every ounce of my blood, every breath in my lungs, won't stop until I'm phenomenal.
Before the break, we were getting into the New York Mets, and let's be honest, the New York Mets, they're for real right now, man.
They are for real.
They got some great pitching, man. We've talked about the pitching. We've mentioned it so many times. This team, they're different, and there's a different vibe with the New York Met fans. I mean, this is the best record they've had in the last 4 years at this time of the season. So Met fans have every reason in the world to be excited. You're in first place. It was official after last night's convincing win, 12-1 over the Miami Marlins. Don't get me wrong, the Miami Marlins are throwing a minor league team out there right now, but that's a great win. I mean, the hitting's there for the New York Mets. They're hitting well. They're pitching like Bartolo Colon. If you can get a win out of Bartolo Colon at this point of the season right now, at his age, and some of the question mark starts he's had throughout the season, that's a plus for the New York Mets. I mean, now you got your three-headed monster coming up to to the pitching, and you got the lead now. So, do you expect to win out of Matt Harvey, Noah Syndergaard, and Jacob deGrom? I mean, you got, what is that? It's funny with the New York Met fans. You could tell they're excited. I mean, you got deGrom with the deGrominator. You got Noah Syndergaard as Thor, and Matt Harvey as the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight. The Met fans have every right to be excited. The hitting, obviously, the picking up of Yoenis Cespedes, a great pickup. Now, people are wondering, this is an all-star outfit. I think the Mets got a steal on this because the Mets did not have to give up their best prospects by any means. Okay, they had to give right-hander Michael Fulmer and Luis Cessa to Detroit. They're in their top 15, but I mean that's Yoenis Cespedes is an all-star outfielder with an all-star arm, all-star range, good speed, incredible amount of power. Now, when he left Detroit, this guy was not batting the best, okay, but right now he's excelling.
He got hot though before the break,
and that has moved right over to the New York Mets, and the Mets are really finding that this guy has got a lot of power. He's finding holes.
I mean, the guy was the home run derby winner. He was, he was an all-star. Mm-hmm. The guy has. I mean, he has the talent.
He's an all-star.
You can't look at it as
he is absolutely an all-star.
The guy's been in the league 3-4 years, maybe, and has already been on 4 or 5 teams.
He should be an all-star.
You can't look at it that way, but the guy's a great player. I mean, everything that he brings to the table. He's a great hitter. He's a great fielder. He's got a great arm.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got
great
a gun
range
for an arm. But the thing that I really wanted to talk about with the Mets is they're leading the league in velocity.
Their pitchers can throw hard.
Well, the thing that caught my attention really was the teams that had the most pitches over 95 miles per hour. The Mets are in first, all right? They're in first. I mean, we kind of expected that.
Of course.
They're in first. They have over 3,000 pitches over 95 miles per hour, 95 or better.
Yeah.
The next best is under 2,000. So there just shows you how good this pitching staff is, how strong their arms are. I mean, these pitchers throw gas.
The Mets made some good trades.
They did.
This is what it really comes down to. The Mets made some really good trades, picking up Noah Syndergaard from the Blue Jays in the Jose Reyes trade. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when they got him, right? Yeah. I mean, that was and look what Jose Reyes just got transferred for.
Yeah.
Troy Tulowitzki, but they had to also give up 3 of their top 10 prospects. Yeah. So it shows the kind of value that's changed over Jose Reyes. The Mets valued Jose Reyes at his top level and got rid of him at the right time, something that the Colorado Rockies should have done well with Troy Tulowitzki, but did not.
Now, the biggest thing is, will the Mets keep this up?
I think so.
Will they stay atop the NL East? Now,
hitting gets into slumps, pitching never does. That's what I've always seen.
Yes.
That's how it works. Pitching never slumps. Hitting will always slump. So to have a team full of all-star hitters, it'll get you only so far, but it won't get you to the promised land, especially come playoff time.
Yeah.
Because you never know if your team's going to be hot, going to be cold. I mean, that's the way hitting works. And right now, with the way the Mets are pitching, it's been going on all year, and it's only going to get better for them, to be honest.
The thing is, you looked at the Nationals and how the deals that they made in the offseason.
Yeah, the Nationals have been probably by far the biggest disappointment. I mean,
really,
I think so.
They really have.
I mean, second place and still 4 games over 500, and the way Bryce Harper's played, Bryce Harper's been unbelievable. Bryce Harper has excelled.
Right now, it's definitely between Mike Trout and Bryce Harper for the MVP,
and that's saying something. I mean, they weren't even expecting this kind of year out of Bryce Harper, and especially so quickly.
The craziest thing that it makes me laugh a little
bit. Pitching, man.
Not even that. It's just Bryce Harper is 22 years old. Mike Trout is 23, 22.
These kids figured it out.
And these two are fighting for MVP. I mean, at 22, at 22 and 23 years old or something like that, you're looked at as, all right, he's the next best thing. Mm-hmm. But these two are the best thing,
without a doubt.
I mean, the only one that you can really put up with them is Miguel Cabrera.
Mm-hmm. Who's hurt
right now? But right now, it's no contest. These two are right now. It's just a level above everybody else.
And it doesn't even end there, bro. I mean, you look at the rookie class from this season. I mean, there's a lot of good rookies coming out this year.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's showing you how baseball's changing.
Chris Bryant.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy, I love to watch play. To be honest with you, I mean, I love him at the bat.
5-tool player, man. I mean, you can't really ask for more from this guy. Third baseman, seriously. Solid player. I mean, baseball's changing. Players are coming up a lot more quicker. Even you see from the New York Yankees, you got a lot of young guys coming up very quick.
Severino's pitching on Wednesday.
Exactly.
This is big.
Yep.
You know, this is big because of the Yankees staying pat. And I mean, we might as well get it going with the Yankees now. I mean, they stood pat at the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Will it pay off? Will it hurt them in the long run? What do you think?
I'm a big fan of, basically when everything's going well for you and you're in first place, don't put a fork in the middle of, you know what I mean? You don't want to really want to destroy anything. There's no reason to. For me, the Yankees standing pat, this is a smart move on the GM, smart move on the New York Yankees organization as a whole. This is a team that's got everything going for them. I mean, you made your moves already. You got your 1-2. You got Tanaka. You got Pineda. Of course, Pineda's hurt right now, but he's coming back. It's not like this guy's out for the year right now. Why is that?
I wouldn't go that far.
You want to jinx it?
Well, yeah, I don't want you to jinx it, but the thing is, he's got the same injury that Tanaka had last year. And the thing that scares me is, when you hear strain of the forearm, that's scary, because that's, as they call in baseball, a precursor for Tommy John surgery. And that scares me, because that's an elbow injury. And that's another 1.5 years without Pineda, especially after making the trade for him and him having to be out 1.5 years. Then coming back and pitching as well as anything last year. Coming back into this year, I mean,
well, that's how I see it.
He's shown
he can pitch after he's hurt
of what he did last year.
There are a lot of pitchers out there that you'll see, they come back from injury and they struggle. Yeah. Okay, you even saw it from the great Matt Harvey on the other side of New York. So, I mean, Pineda, if we do get him back, it's a good solid 1-2. But if we don't get him back, it's going to be a detrimental hit for the New York Yankees. And if they knew that, I'm sorry, but if it really is as crazy as you think it is with the the whole forearm, then the Yankees probably should have made a move right here and try to pick up a legit starter. So unless Luis Severino is going to come in and be a Matt Harvey right off the bat. But I
think that they had that kind of in the back of their mind, so that they didn't feel obligated to go out and make a extravagant move where we're going to have to take on this whole guy's contract, trade away another, big piece that will be in our future, like, a Mateo or a Judge or a Severino, or a Sanchez, guys like that, basically those are the 4 guys that you think about when you talk about the Yankees farm system. But them not getting rid of them, I understand, because if they're as good as everybody thinks that they're going to be, then by all means, this guy Aaron Judge, he's a big boy, 6'7", outfielder. Wow. A big boy
can move if you got legs that long. I'll tell you that.
And this is that's our next.
That's the next generation of the New York Yankees. I understand, But, I mean, right now the Yankees are at a win now. I mean, I'm always a fan of if you're winning and you're in first place going into the trade deadline, you keep it going.
See, now, I was saying
there's no reason to waste the season when you're that good.
I was saying last week, and I was reading off of a website and how they had it in tiers of the guys that were looked to be, on the trade block and that were most likely going to be traded.
The only thing I heard on the Yankees' part was, Craig Kimbrell. That was the only thing. That's what you think we're weak on right now?
Well, you know what? The thing was, I think the Yankees looked at it as all these starting pitchers are going. You know what? We keep the pitching that we have. If they got to go 5 innings, 6 innings or so, we have a crazy bullpen that we will cut the game down into a 5-inning game.
Yeah.
Then we have Kimbrell. Then we have Shreve. Then we got Betances.
Yeah.
Then we got Miller. Guys that will close out. Justin Wilson. Guys that will close out the game at the 5th inning.
There's no question that the Yankees have one of the best bullpens in baseball right now.
One of the best. I would even give it to. I got to give it to them.
I know. I feel like that
it's
was
between them and the Royals.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. But I mean, again, the starting pitching is going to have to be there. All right, we saw. I mean, I'm a big fan of when the I'm never going to be a big fan of the Boston Red Sox, but I was a big fan of how they were able to win with the whole Kurt Schilling and Pedro Martinez and the way they were able to abuse those two arms. Just like I feel like the New York Mets are probably going to be doing come October with Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard. I mean, these are guys that are dominant.
But you know what they're talking about with the Mets, and it made me rip my hair out when the whole thing happened with the Nationals and Strasburg and the innings and all that stuff. It is making me crazy for the Mets, at least for the Mets fans. I feel bad for the Mets fans because of how much they have dealt with. I'm so happy for them. I mean, Citi Field was rocking the other day, and I'm not a Mets fan, and I have nothing against the Mets.
It's one of those where, you don't feel bad. I guess it's probably the worst way, but it's like you really do because it went a lot more than baseball, especially with all the money situation that went on with the, whole Madoff thing. I mean, you had to feel for them. They couldn't spend money. They couldn't do anything about it. They were, they went a couple of years being detrimental, and they've been able to build off of it. Being
that they're talking about, how this whole pitching staff is the way that they are and how young they are.
Yeah, that's the big part. I mean,
they are seriously talking about an innings restriction.
For who?
All of them.
Oh my Lord. I don't think so. I mean, if they finish in first place, you have to start these guys.
But this is what I'm saying. What are you gonna like? All of them? You're just gonna put them on like they're gonna come to their inning restriction, and then. What are you going to do when you go into the playoffs? You're going to do the same thing that the Nationals did with Strasburg? Are you kidding me?
It makes no sense because I'll be honest with you. Look what happened to Strasburg.
The stupidest thing.
Look at Strasburg. Have you seen him at all this season?
Exactly.
If a guy's going to get hurt, a guy's going to get hurt. That's how it is.
Exactly.
If you want to put an innings restriction, then you need to stop throwing 115 pitches for these players. Then,
but even
you
that,
need to cap it down.
If you look at it back in the day, not even that far back in the day. I'm talking about late '80s, early '90s. Guys were starting to pitch in the 90s. Easy. I mean, but you didn't see a restriction on these pitchers.
And you saw a lot more complete games too.
Yeah, and you didn't see
and a lot more strikeouts too. That means
you didn't see the amount of Tommy John surgeries as you are now.
They said baseball's changing, where it comes to the fact that you're never going to see a pitcher basically throwing an overwhelming amount of strikeouts. So I mean, it's just baseball's changing, and it really needs to change to a more positive approach, especially for New York Met fans. You saw what happened with Strasburg. Can't do the restriction. Tempers flare at 2 NFC East camps.
A recap of the first week of the NFL training camp is ahead. Also, the Cowboys-Eagles rivalry isn't just won on the field. The fans are still a part of that, and we got a great story ahead on the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on Old Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Keep it locked.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
The media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools. Redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
And congratulations to every NFL fan around. Last Sunday was the last Sunday without football. Starting this week, the Hall of Fame game, followed by preseason, and training camps are in full effect.
Yeah, everybody made it through without losing their minds too much, at least.
Yeah.
Without football. I mean, I know I lose my mind.
Yeah, there comes a time where it just gets too crazy, too long.
You know, you always look for free agency and then football season.
Boom. It gets eased a little bit because, you do have the draft and you do have free agency period. So, everything gets eased. But let's be honest, it's still that little pain when it comes Sunday and there's no football on. But you know what? Those feelings are behind us. Football is in full effect and training camps are going along. But, of course, these two New York teams are having a hard time keeping a full defensive line, I should say, on the field right now. Sheldon Richardson, new reports coming out, 143 miles per hour. On July 14th. Basically didn't want to tell the New York Jets about it either. That makes it even better.
The thing that drives me crazy is it's less than 2 weeks since his 4-game suspension for violating the substance abuse policy.
The guy is becoming a problem. This is
24 years old. Maybe you're not just a young player. I mean, that's
he's a good player, but people portray him as being a great player. But let's be honest. The reason why you're a great player, per se, in the media is because you're playing next to someone. And this is somebody else that, you even had to make your own little comment with his contract negotiation. Now, why are you making a comment on his contract negotiation in the first place? And before any of the trouble, this is the first problem. Like, why are you even mentioning anything? Why are you talking about Muhammad Wilkerson's contract on your Twitter or, in interviews? That is not your problem. No, well, it will be a problem because once Muhammad Wilkerson goes and you get your true colors taken out, and that's a big problem.
You know what? You know what? To be honest with you, I think it's time for the Jets to wipe themselves clean of Sheldon Richardson. I don't care how good he is. If he's going to keep doing stuff like this,
this is just beyond.
It's less than 2 weeks. He came out after being suspended for the 4 games for smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
Again. These players do. Now, the thing that drives me crazy is these players know when they're going to be drug tested.
Actually, it's really funny. You're right, because I've read, this is stuff that not every fan knows about and doesn't hear about. You basically, you're getting warned. you get a hit once and it's a warning, and then after that, when you see it in the news like this, that means that you got caught for a second time.
You're an idiot.
You got caught. The first one was a warning, and they basically let you know.
But
you do it again, you're done.
Like you're just an idiot. You're just an idiot.
You can't get off it. And basically, you got him, talking about how he's not a dope fiend, and he can't say no. No, you can't say no. Apparently, so there's a big problem there, man.
The thing with him is, after this 4-game suspension, he came out publicly and said he's learned his lesson. He feels bad, that he screwed up. Blah blah blah. Less than 2 weeks later, you're caught. You're clocked.
I'll be honest.
122, 134, and 143 miles per hour. First of all, why in anybody's right mind, other than NASCAR drivers, why would you be speeding at that rate? First of all. Second of all, the thing that makes this totally worse. Now, it's kind of bad when something's worse than having a loaded gun, having the smell of burnt marijuana, and hitting 143 miles per hour. But you had a 12-year-old in the back seat. Why, in your right mind, do you feel that that's okay?
Yeah, it's a disgraceful situation. I mean, it's embarrassing to be a New York Jet fan with this man on the team right now. I'll be honest. I mean, the guy's a good player, and I want to see him on the field, but you got to clean up the act, man.
I mean, you're a Jets fan. You're a Jets fan, so I understand.
Yeah, I mean,
how
the performance on the field you can't ignore. Angry. But yeah, I'm very angry because this is a guy we need. Absolutely. You want to win a championship. You want to win a Super Bowl, which is something every New York Jet fan is dying for at this point.
I mean, before this 4-game suspension, it came down to, oh wow, Jets go out and the offseason get Revis, Cromartie. Now they're building a team that is probably looked to be on paper the best defense in the league.
Well, it makes you wonder if really Sheldon Richardson is in their future with their first round draft pick of.
That's another, but that's a thing. Like, thank God Leonard Williams dropped to number 7.
Yeah.
Because now, could you imagine?
Yeah.
Having no Leonard Williams, no Sheldon Richardson.
Muhammad Wilkerson be a one-man show.
Muhammad Wilkerson having this whole, contract thing up in the air.
Well, I don't think that's going to be a debate anymore. I think the New York Jets are.
But this is what I mean. Like, they should wipe their hands clean of Sheldon Richardson, give Mo Wilkerson his money.
Well, the thing is, it really doesn't come down to that. It's going to come down to whether the New York Jets can cut contract talks with guys like Nick Mangold and DeBrickashaw Ferguson. Basically, that offensive line that's getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah,
and let's be honest, for a team that saw their quarterback get sacked a decent amount of times last year, these guys are obviously clearly either making too much money. Yeah, they're either clearly making too much money, or there needs to be some talk. Now, restructuring doesn't mean we're going to pay them less, but it's going to basically
it's going to push it to the end of his contract. So basically, he could be making $1 million after this contract, like after this restructure of his contract. He can be making $1 million after this year.
But the other 15, 20.
His last year of his contract, he's making $25 million.
Yep.
So that's how restructuring contract goes.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you're in a win now kind of thing, because when you get to the end of his contract,
Muhammad Wilkerson's a very rare player. This is a guy he's really proving himself. Yeah. This guy's not the biggest guy in the world, but his ability to play the position is unique. He's a very good player at it, and he's shown it the last 2 years. He's done it for no money, and he's still reporting to camp. This guy is as straight-edged as you can possibly imagine. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to go ahead and not sign Muhammad Wilkerson, and what are you going to do? You're going to hold off for Sheldon Richardson?
Yeah.
Are you going to seriously, if the New York Jets make a move like that, then it really, you're questioning, the higher-ups. I mean, who's making these decisions right now?
Yeah.
And do they really need to go?
It's crazy. I mean,
I think it really just comes down to they need to restructure, and they're sure as hell going to keep Muhammad Wilkerson. I think you got to now. I think Wilkerson's showing that he's more professional than a lot of players. And I'll be honest, a lot of players in the National Football League altogether. You got a lot of guys holding out every year, and we're talking guys that are premier players, every kind of player, even the two big wide receivers this year holding out or threatening to hold out. Muhammad Wilkerson throughout this whole process he's threatened it a little bit, but I think that was just a story in the media that basically got flipped around. This guy is reporting with a smile on his face, playing his what off. You know what I mean? He's really showing that he's a true professional.
I mean, just everything. I think you got to pay him now, because at first the advantage was to the Jets. It really was their advantage, because you have Sheldon Richardson, you have Leonard Williams. The advantage is to the Jets. You know what? You could be like, hey, we don't really need to pay you that kind of money.
I mean, this is something that might have gone on.
Now I think you have to. You have to pay him. You have to. Yeah. But we're gonna move on to the NFC East. Fights break out, and it's a usual thing. That's
guys
what
are
you
fighting
hear
for
about.
Positions. Exactly,
and that's
fighting for a career.
You're gonna have it.
Yep, fighting for a career, fighting to make money. That's how it works.
So on NFL Network, a fight broke out as they were filming NFL Network live. A fight breaks out at Giants camp between I think it was Pugh and someone else on the defensive line.
Basically, two guys that are seeing themselves face to face about a good solid 80% of the time they're at practice, and obviously one guy's trying to show the other guy up, one guy's trying to make a contract out of this. It's all about battles, and honestly, it's all in good fun. But where I cut the line. I'm sorry, this is where I cut the line, okay? And, you move across from one NFC team to the next. You got the Cowboys, Des Bryant, and who was it?
Tyler Patman.
Tyler Patman. Two guys throwing punches at each other. Punches. And now the Giants as well.
This Giants one was just as worse.
And this is what I mean. Like, overall, pushing and shoving, I understand. Tensions fly high, okay? Football's a contact sport. When you close your fist and you go to throw a punch at another player, that's overdoing the line. Because obviously, when you're throwing a punch, you're attempting to harm. When you're attempting to harm like that means there's dislike in the locker room. When there's dislike in the locker room, it makes a big impact on the field come regular season. That's just me.
You know what?
Punches are a lot different than pushing and shoving. It really is.
There's no hate in that locker room.
You didn't need the locker room. I hope so for both teams' sakes and their fans.
The thing is, it's Des Bryant. Everybody loves Des Bryant on the Cowboys. That's all you hear from everybody in that Cowboys locker room. The Cowboys,
because you make contact with one of those punches, you're risking injury. Now imagine Patton punches Des Bryant in the face, contacts, and breaks a bone in his face. What happens there?
Oh, I know. It's
now pushing
stupid.
and shoving.
It's absolutely stupid.
Pushing and shoving. You're not gonna tore a rotator cuff. Okay, you're really not.
You
okay.
Could.
Yeah, but if you do, then you really don't deserve to have a spot on an NFL team by pushing and shoving, because that's what football is.
Basically that's what you're gonna deal with with camp. But JPP and that whole debacle, I guess. Jerry Reese came out and had comments on WFAN, basically saying that he hasn't signed his franchise tag yet. And if it comes out, they're not really obligated to pay him.
Why would they?
This is what I'm saying. Like,
it's another situation where it's production production over problem.
Yeah,
there's a big problem that happened to him. It really is. Okay, same thing. The same thing. It's very similar to the New York Jets situation with Sheldon Richardson. This is a guy that's acting. That acted up, made a mistake. Now, it's the same thing even with Sheldon Richardson. You got Sheldon Richardson apologizing for his actions. I don't know. Did anything come out with JPP apologizing for his actions at all? It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't change the problem. That's the thing. But
like this is what I mean when we're talking about stuff like this. Like, why?
We've talked about it over and over again. We've talked about how you're a professional player.
3 letters that you have to say to these guys. It's why. Why? Why must you go out and burn up a firework?
Why do you have to be driving 143 miles per hour while you're smoking weed and, basically
having a 12-year-old in a semi-automatic, fully loaded gun? Why? And you could say it about every incident that has happened in the NFL. Why did Plaxico Burress go into a club with a gun? You have a bodyguard for that.
Why do you got to go drinking and driving when you make millions of dollars?
Exactly.
And it costs how much to pay for a cab?
Uber.
Cab. Or Uber or something like that.
But it's just ridiculous.
It's embarrassing to themselves, and it's embarrassing to the NFL after it keeps happening over and over and over again.
Another embarrassing thing for the NFL, the whole Tom Brady situation, the whole Patriots situation. I'm not going to get into it. Really, we're not gonna get into it because
everybody else
has.
Everyone's going into this so much.
So we're not.
You just have your opinion on the matter, and basically, when it comes to me, this is an organization that has been in trouble before. So does the NFL need the top tier proof in order to put a punishment out there? Which let's be honest, it's not that harsh of a punishment. Yeah. Okay, you went to the Super Bowl because of this whole ordeal. Okay, remember that.
That was the reason why.
You get paid a lot of money of a bonus if you win a Super Bowl too. Okay, a lot of money.
It's just that. It's just a crazy situation. But in better news, Eric Berry, cancer-free.
Can't wait to watch that man on the field again. A raw talent, very good player.
The doctors gave him the
I can't wait to see it.
bill of health to play, and I'm happy to see him.
Guy was in my prayers, and I'm just glad he's all right. And I'm glad he's able to be back on the field and watch him every Sunday.
It's never too early to start talking fantasy football. Next on the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app.
All Noise Radio.
Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Great story between the fan bases of the Cowboys and the Eagles. Before we get into fantasy talk, I want to just bring up this quick story. The whole banner thing that happened with the Jets flying a banner over Patriots with the cheaters look up.
Classic.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I was amused by it. I saw it, laughed.
The Eagles fans, being the type of fans that they are, you know, they always have to copy people. It's just I'm not a big fan of Eagles fans. All right, they wanted to fly a "We Have DeMarco" banner
and
across.
The Cowboys should have wrote, "We still have that offensive line." That's probably what they should have wrote in return.
Yeah. So Cowboys fans saw it. The Eagles fans had a GoFundMe campaign going to raise $1,800 to fly this banner. So the Cowboys fans figured, why not? We'll do the same thing. They had a GoFundMe campaign going, saying it was supposed to say we got the division first. I think it kind of got into people's heads, saying as a jinx. So they changed it. We still dem boys, because they had the whole we dem boys type thing going on last year, which was awesome. So the Cowboys fans basically raised their money in like 6 hours less than the Eagles fans, and they're still raising money right now. All the money that they had over the requested $1,350 is going towards a children's foundation. I don't know what the Eagles fans are doing, but that's what the Cowboys fans are doing. Cowboys fans have raised $3,850 to the Eagles raising $2,300 over their $1,800 goal. But the biggest news was Greg Hardy chipped in on this and donated $300 to that campaign.
That's funny.
Which is awesome. But I thought that was a great story between the two. I mean, the rivalry is not just on the field. It goes
beyond with the fans. Same thing as the Jets and Patriots.
Yeah,
there's a lot of rivalries like that.
Absolutely.
And honestly, it's what makes football so fun and such a great environment. I can't wait. But it's that time.
Fantasy football.
Yeah, man, it's upon us, people. You got your drafts coming up within probably the end of the month, early September. I mean, this is a funny year.
We'll tell you right now. If you have the first pick, who's going to be your pick?
I'm sorry, if it's me, I'm going Adrian Peterson.
I think you got to go Adrian.
This is an Adrian Peterson owner from last year and dealt with that whole
absolutely.
out for the whole year kind of thing. So I mean, I already forgive him. I mean, you're back on the football field, you're back to training camp. You're ready to go. You're not going to get put in any spring training games. You're safe as anything to be a premier back in the NFL. Of course, he is the clear-cut number one. People have ranking of Le'Veon Bell being ranked number one. It's really like a mix-up.
But Le'Veon Bell's getting suspended, and
Le'Veon Bell is also facing in a division that's got the Cleveland Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Baltimore Ravens. These are three defenses that I would say probably the worst out of the three. The worst of the three is probably the Baltimore Ravens because of the people they've lost. But they still got a great defensive mind. It's that's a team that those are three teams you really don't want a running back going up against. Now, don't get me wrong, Pittsburgh's offense was unbelievable last year. Ben Roethlisberger was great. Antonio Brown, I don't even have a word that can explain how good he was last year.
Well, let's just say he's in the top 5 of
fantasy drafts.
Rankings.
I mean, he's like this year is different for me. Now, I've always been a fantasy football guy. I've been playing for years. This might be the first time in a long time that I actually don't go with a running back in the first round, second round, third round, fourth round, or fifth round. This is crazy to say, but the way the NFL position is with the running back, you see that it's very diverse, that it goes, it's up and down all the time with the running backs. It's not guaranteed.
But the biggest thing now,
production.
The reason why you question that now is because of all of the, running back by committee. It's not just a number one running back anymore.
No, I can make a debate with you real quick about this.
Well, the thing that I look at right now is Adrian Peterson. He's got that spot.
Of course.
He's the
same thing
workhorse.
with Jamal Charles, same thing with Marshawn Lynch, same thing with Arian Foster. But right there, that's where I ended. And you got guys like C.J. Anderson.
That's your first 5 picks. That anything past that.
And Eddie Lacy, I would maybe give the nod to as well. But I mean, look at guys.
He's got Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback. So when you're looking at that offense, when you need yardage, who are you going to go to? Are you going to give the ball to Eddie Lacy, or are you going to let Aaron Rodgers throw a little 5-yard out route to Jordy Nelson?
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's choice is going to be a 5-yard out to Jordy Nelson.
This is just off the top of my head as like a couple of picks early on. Okay, now if I had a team that was full of maybe, just off the top of my head, you go Antonio Brown first round, and then you're getting like a top 5 pick, top 7 pick.
Absolutely.
You go Antonio Brown first round. Second round comes back around to you. You're looking at the range of about, we're talking the 5th overall pick right now, the 12-man standard league. Okay, so now your second round pick is somewhere in like the mid-20s right now. Yeah. Okay, you went all the way down. You head through 12 through 24. You're around the 19-20 mark. Now you look at that range. You got Andrew Luck, LaShawn McCoy, Matt Forte, Aaron Rodgers. Now, second round there, I'm going Aaron Rodgers or Andrew Luck. Yeah. If one of those two are available, I go after him. Now we're looking at a second round and a first round with no running backs, but now we're looking at Antonio Brown and Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck. A lot of people would be dying to have 2 players like that. You keep moving forward. As the 5th overall pick, you got like the 20 range. Now you're going to be around 30. Okay, you go 24, and you're about 5 picks after that 29, 30 range. You're looking at Jordan Matthews, Russell Wilson, Jimmy Graham, T.Y. Hilton, even Peyton Manning's around that area, Frank Gore. Now, if I can get Frank Gore in the 3rd round, possibly, but is that even a lock to be a great pick? I don't know. We're looking at a guy that's getting older. Okay, I expect him to excel in this offense because, he's never had a quarterback like Andrew Luck before, a guy that's getting him down the field consistently. Frank Gore did a lot of good work in San Fran, but it slowed down towards the end, but he played in a very tough division. Very tough. Yeah. So, you're talking even 3rd round pick, maybe you go Jordan Matthews or Randall Cobb, Mike Evans. Now that's the first 3 picks of the draft. You went 2 receiver and a quarterback. Yeah. And your team looks as solid as ever. I mean, to have Mike Evans as a number 2, a lot of teams will be going as Mike Evans as a number 1.
It's funny. The better teams that I've gotten the last 2 years or so was 1 year I got the first round pick, the first overall pick, and I took Adrian Peterson. Now, most, if not all, it flip flops. You get the first, next round you get the last.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, that's the standard.
That's most, if not all.
Yes.
So I drafted Adrian Peterson, obviously because if you got the first pick, I think that's what you got to do. Mm-hmm. Then I'm watching, and everybody, I think I was in a 12-team league. I have to go with maybe 10 of those guys picked running backs. You know who I ended up with? Peyton Manning. That was the year that he had his 5-touchdown game.
I bet.
And it was
the year right after his injury, right? Yeah. People weren't sure what they were going to get out of him.
I got him. Then, being that I went from 1 to last, so the last pick in the second round
becomes the first pick in the 3rd.
I got Peyton Manning. So then it came the 1st and the 3rd. I ended up picking up Andre Johnson. So right there, I mean, and people were still taking running backs. So depending on the league and the people that you're in with, if they feel like a lot of people feel like you have to take a running back in the first round
because they're so scarce. That's the way it works. You know what I mean? It becomes so it has to be you have to go with a running back here, or you have to go a wide receiver here, or something along the lines. But for me, I mean, if I could finish with it, 2 running backs like maybe Mark Ingram and like let's see, who else would be the other? Shane Vereen with the New York Giants. And I mean, they would, you even read articles today about, Rashad Jennings being big, strong, fast. Shane Vereen is a dominant pass catcher. And we all know what kind of quarterback Eli Manning is. He wants to get that ball to his check down whenever he possibly can. I mean, he's got two dominant, deep threat receivers. So obviously those guys are going to be taking a lot of attention. Yeah. So when you got two deep threat receivers in Victor Cruz and Odell Beckham Jr. that can both make big plays at any moment, what happens to defenses? They pull back. Absolutely. What does that leave underneath?
Why don't we get into rookie classes?
Of course. And this is another example of a running back that I'd want to go with, Todd Gurley.
That's Todd Gurley and Melvin Gordon are probably the two top rookies for fantasy this year.
Oh yeah, for production
that's who you're going to have to look at because they're a step above everybody else in the rookie class. Another guy that you have to look at right? Melvin Gordon.
He's ranked pretty high, though. I mean, this is a guy that's not a guarantee that you're going to get a starting position. It's a big risk to this degree, but it's a big reward as well.
By the way, off topic, really. Did anybody did we hear anything different on Blake Bortles? Because I know the first or second day of camp, he was carted off. So, I mean, that right there kind of makes a difference on T.J. Yeldon. Yeah, running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's definitely a question.
He's a
so did I.
Fan of mine, to be honest.
But I mean, the top four that I have here of running back rookies for fantasy are all running backs. Number 5, who I would definitely look at, is Amari Cooper, if Derek Carr can play up to his ability.
And these are guys that they're up in the air kind of guys. These are guys you're going to find around the 6th, 7th round, 8th round of drafts. I'm one of those that I'm going to go for guys like, I like Jeremy Maclin towards that area. Okay. Even Tony Romo's dropping to that degree, which is kind of funny in itself. Amir Abdullah even going all the way down. I mean, guys, these are running backs that, could get the starting job, overall, that's a great pick. You don't have to force yourself. I mean, this is just me. I'm not like, I'm not no girl or anything, but someone like CJ Anderson or, Jeremy Hill, that's not someone I'm comfortable taking in the first round. I mean, I'll switch over there and I'll take Antonio Brown where I know it's guaranteed production, The
thing that drives me crazy here is the list that I'm looking at for, fantasy rookies. They have Mariota over Jameis Winston, which is absolutely mind-boggling.
I think Jameis Winston's going to make Mike Evans an elite player.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Mike
Evans. You know what? Going into sleepers now.
Yep.
Jameis Winston is going to be a solid quarterback, I believe.
I think so. I'm also a big fan of guys like Eli Manning. I mean, this is great. Only if you got to play it as it goes. But if Victor Cruz is a healthy receiver, and you got guys like Shane Vereen surrounding this guy, both those receivers, this guy's going to do damage. He's going to throw for yards, and he's going to have to, especially if the New York Giants don't get a full JPP back, and they have a hard time getting to the quarterback, and other teams are scoring on them. It's really sky's the limit for him, to be honest.
When you think about
80 overall is Eli Manning, 80th. That's crazy. Matt Stafford's right next to him too, which I'm not really.
Well, I'm not a big Stafford fan, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it seems like that draft class altogether.
I mean,
the quarterback was really overrated.
What drives me crazy is you have Calvin Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
But that will do it for the show.
Yeah, that was.
We're going to keep going with this.
Absolutely, man. Fantasy football has just started our new segment, Fantasy 14.
Next week, we're back with another great show for you. Remember to send us your questions and topics on Twitter.
Any feedback?
At TNJ Sports. I'm Jerry.
On Twitter. I'm Donlin.
Be breezy. Thanks for listening to another episode of The Tom and Jerry Show.
Our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.